All right, guys, Jamil Mayers, welcome back to Certified Bad Example. Today, we're going to have some amazing stories. But before we get into that, I do want to say that we are recording this episode in May, and it is getting pretty close to the end of school for me. So, school here in Arizona ends about a week or two before the end of May. I
Oh,
know it's a
whoa.
little bit early for a lot of folks, but kids go back to school also like the last second to last of the last week in July. So they really maximize on time. And I tell you that I don't know, it's the reverse for me, right? When I was in school, all I wanted was time off. I wanted longer vacations and things of that nature. And now that I'm a parent, I'm like, why do we have 2 weeks for spring break, 2 weeks for fall break, 2 weeks for the lights came on, 2 weeks for it's blue outside. It's like everything is 2 weeks. So it's like what is happening? But anyway, I look forward to summer because we get to do a little bit of traveling and whatnot. How about yourself, August?
That's really exciting. Hi, guys. August Black. And my daughter doesn't get out of school for a good month and a half, I think. We actually
Oh
kind of
wow.
flip it on the other side. We end a little bit later because Rhode Island seems to be a really big tourist destination, especially for summer travel. So they keep the school kids into school a little bit later into June, but then they don't go back until like almost September. So
What's the
they
big thing out there to do since you said it's a tourist?
beaches. I mean, Newport brings a lot of people, and we have some beautiful beaches. We've excellent food. They have the mansions. Tay Swift has a house here. I mean, I'm August Black, and this is Certified Bad Example, where we take real parenting moments that make you pause and ask, who approved this?
And I'm Jamil Mayers. We're not here to teach, we're here to talk about it. Different opinions, real perspectives, and what we do instead, preferably before somebody ends up grounded crying or in a group chat getting roasted.
Because every situation is a choice.
And some of y'all are choosing chaos.
This is Certified Bad Example. Follow, share, and hold on tight. Yeah, it's just honestly, it's just a beautiful place to live. So people love to visit and vacation and check out, and it's old. It's like a lot of old architecture, a lot of old buildings, um,
A lot of old
streets.
people. No, no, let's not put
Um,
that.
yeah, it's decent in there.
No, it's a lot of young people that probably descend for summertime. It's not like Florida for spring break,
No.
but I'm sure it has its charm.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a spring break destination, but it's definitely a good summer visit. Spring, like, we also have a bunch of colleges here, so there's a lot of college kids. So my work's about to get super busy because of graduation season, and then it'll kind of teeter out during the summer and get a little bit calmer. So I don't know about traveling this summer, but definitely some beach trips and making the most of the sunshine since we had a really long and tough winter.
All right, so I have one more question before I ask my or tell my story.
hmm
What's with you and insects? I'm starting to learn this a little bit.
Insects. Oh, I like bugs. Yeah. I like bugs. Bo likes bugs from a distance, which I really learned the
Smart
other day.
girl.
Yeah, we went to like our park that's up the street. So it's like this little woods park in Lincoln Woods, and it's like supposed to be like a little bit of hiking, a little bit of paths. And I get the dogs out of the car and I get Bo out of the car, and within 5 minutes she realizes that there is ants on the ground. There are ants on the ground.
No
And,
thanks.
we left 20 minutes later because I was like,
She's like, I'm not down for
she
it.
couldn't do it and I couldn't do her, and the no ants and both the dogs, they like acting like they had ants in their pants because 'cause they're so excited, and she's the exact opposite where she's like, "I cannot walk here." But I've always been fascinated with bugs. I've been a big fan of spiders, like, my whole life, and I just find them to be just really, I mean, they're just really cool creatures. Now, do I need them on me or near me? Do I need them as pets? No. The answer is no. But do I appreciate them? I think they're beautiful. I do.
Just put them all in jars and carry them around. Anyway, enough about that because I am like your daughter. I appreciate bugs from afar.
Fair.
So I think she's got the right idea.
Super, super fair.
All right, let's get into the first story. Doom, doom,
All
doom.
right.
Again, for our listeners, we encourage you to engage with us. Add what you would do, what your thoughts are, comments, feedback. If you remember the story, drop it down in the comments. We want to hear your thoughts. again, this is just opinion based. We're not trying to judge anybody, but we do have opinions, and sometimes they differ. Sometimes they're right on spot. Sometimes they're very unique. Sometimes they're controversial, whatever you want to call it. So we do want to hear your thoughts and opinions as we go through these stories. And August does not know these stories. I don't know his stories. So you're going to get our real time reactions as we read these stories.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. In 2023, a youth basketball program in Virginia unraveled after repeated sideline incidents involving a parent yelling at referees and youth players. One widely shared video clip showed the disruption mid game. A coach, Mike Allen, reported it locally, stepped down, citing adult behavior, not the kids, as the reason. The team included elementary and preteen players. This source comes from NBC News in 2003. And of course, there's a video out there that shows what happens. And I'll try to add this in post production. But I've seen a couple of the videos. It's really these kids that are they're playing basketball, and I think sometimes you get a little too aggressive. Sometimes let me rephrase. Sometimes when you're playing sports, you tend to go after someone and you push them, but you're not trying to hurt them or something. And
Yeah.
at the time that you push or impact them, they are already like on their heels. So the push is like
Like,
exaggerated, right?
yeah.
And now they go flying across the room and you really didn't mean to do that. So it seems like that is what happened, and then you immediately see the parent come from I don't know where, but they're like in full tilt and they charge the kid. And I'm like, wow. So with that said,
I think I've actually seen this video.
it's very possible. It's a very
Yeah.
popular video at the time, so it's circulated all over
Does the
social
other
media as well.
dad come back and just like clothesline the dad who went after his kid?
Basically, then it
Yeah.
becomes an issue. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
that's one of the videos, and of course, this seems to be a pervasive type of activity at this particular school.
okay. Okay.
So, what do you think? What would you do? What's your initial impression? What would you think sitting in the audience
Oh
at
man, I
that
mean
game?
that's super tough. One, it's like you can't put your hands on somebody else's kid. I mean, that's my first thought. But at the playground, when I'm with Bo and there's these other kids who aren't being super nice and don't want to play, there's that piece of me that just wants to be like, well, you suck anyways. So, which is awful because
You
you're
get down to her age level, you're like, you stink.
oh, you're the worst. You're stinky. But because she just really wants it. But it's her job to create that that connection and to also build that tough skin. I can't do it for her, but everything in me, every parenting instinct in me wants to protect her from those moments, but you can't. You can't. And you have to let your kid kind of defend themselves. Same goes to the parent who's chasing and attacking essentially a young child, preteen, on a basketball court because he thinks that his kid is it was too handsy with his kid. And it's like it's a sport. Kids get hurt in sports. That's like the name of the game. It's not your job to put your I don't know. There's an overinvestment in either protecting your child and not letting them learn how to protect themselves, but also in the outcome of the game. I think there's like that like tiger mom soccer dad thing where they're just so invested in their kid winning and not having a good time, if that makes sense. That's kind of where my mind goes in this situation. Yeah.
So it's my perspective is similar but slightly different. I do want my kid to be able to learn to deal in those moments.
Mhm.
I think as long as no other parent is getting involved, then there's an opportunity to say, okay, let me see how this plays out, right? But if it's getting physical, like they're tussling, getting into a
Oh yeah.
fight, then I do feel that it is my responsibility to manage my child, not the other child, my child, right?
Yep.
Because they're in that moment, they're watching. Now that you're engaged, they're watching what you're doing. What are you doing? Are you
Mhm.
defending me? Are you fighting this other 9-year-old or 13-year-old or in some cases 17-year-old? Or are you trying to diffuse, right? Are you escalating or diffusing? Now, with that said, I always approach things with a few lenses. One, I'm a black male. So anything I do is going to start with a black man. right?
Mhm.
When it gets in the news, they're gonna go, "Oh, a middle-aged black man did ABC," right? It just inflames it for no reason. I know a lot of people are like, "Not everything's about race." Yes, that is often said by someone who doesn't have to deal
Deal
with
with that.
race.
It,
So I'm always very cognizant of what I am doing. Do I get up and get involved and now I'm the mad black man or, something of that nature? Now, what I will say is sometimes I do take that into account and I will leverage that, right? I don't know that I've been in a situation where I need to be that overly protective parent, but I am still very aware. I see others, right? There are things that are happening that don't involve my kid. I'm not getting involved. Like, there a fight starts out. Do I get up and try to help and try to do no, because if I get hit and now I have to react and I wasn't part of this, now I have become the story. So I always approach it from several different lenses, and then in 30 seconds I make a decision whether I need to get involved or not. But if it's my kid and someone's parent puts their hand on my child, right or wrong, you have taken away the right or wrong conversation.
yeah, putting your hands on somebody else's kid is immediately wrong.
Absolutely. Whether
Immediately
whether
wrong.
my kid did something right or wrong, you've removed the opportunity for me to address that because now I have to address you.
Yeah, because you've
So yeah.
crossed the line that everyone should watch. I had a moment with Bo, and it's super separate, but it was a stranger. We go to the same coffee shop all the time, but this stranger like kind of like touched her hair, and I can tell
Oh hell no.
that she was super uncomfortable with it. And we see this guy twice a week, but he says hi. But this is the first time that he crossed that boundary, and he did it really quick before I could say something to him. But I looked at Bo and I was like, "No one is allowed to touch you without your permission." And she was, there was like, because she's a kid, and like you have to tell your kid, like, no, it doesn't matter if they're older, it doesn't matter if they're adult, it doesn't matter if you see them twice a week. If it makes you uncomfortable, it's not okay. And like a situation where I think adults sometimes almost always put themselves like in this place of in the right in a situation, because I've seen quite a few videos of parents getting involved or getting in arguments with kids at the playground, and they're like, these kids are like, you're like 35 and I'm 11, right? Like we're getting into an argument, but you're arguing
They're
with
like, I'm gonna take you down.
yeah. And they're like, oh, who do you think you're talking to? It's like, I'm talking to somebody I do not know who is being aggressive or putting their hands on me and they're not supposed to, or making me uncomfortable in ways that I can't really protect myself from because you're bigger. You're an adult and I'm a kid.
And you
Um,
will always be wrong because you're an adult. You shouldn't have done it. Everybody's got 20/20 vision hindsight, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like adults, more than I think kids, a lot of the time, don't see their own behavior as being wrong. They see themselves validating in their own experience, where kids I think are more susceptible to being like, ooh, I might have messed up there, but now I'm being attacked. And now I don't have a safe place to like acknowledge that I messed up. Cause I think
You know
that,
what? You make a good point. Kids don't know. Kids don't have the opportunity to say, "I'm going down the wrong path. Let me back up, or let me de-escalate." They charge forward and they escalate as a defense mechanism. And it's
mhm.
if an adult is involved, it often becomes their responsibility to recognize, "Hey, this kid's behaving this way because you are behaving this way."
Yeah, and it's not giving you it's not a they're matching your energy. Kids match your energy. That is like a huge part of I think meeting a kid on their level and like, sometimes just getting down to their same height so you're not making the situation worse. You're coming down to them and you're making it equal. Because when they feel equal, I think they have a better footing to admit either wrong or admit their big feelings behind their actions. But when you make the space, where they're supposed to just connect it for you every time, and I think that I saw that video, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the student who was pushed was a white kid, and the student who, I'm pretty sure I watched the video, and it wasn't really like an outright foul. It was like an accidental foul, and then one kid pushed, and then the other kid pushed back. Right.
Yeah, so the video that I saw does have different races for the kids. And
Mhm.
and again, I think it I think there was some intention in it. I think that the push, because I mean they push and shove each other all the time. It's
Yeah,
part of
they're 12-year-old boys.
the basketball culture, right? But I think that because the kid that was pushed was either turning or was it an angle or something, right? Perfect storm.
He
He
fell
just
down
ended up flying across the room, so it looked like he was shoved.
super hard by this other.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So someone looking from afar would have been like, "What are you know?" That apparently that was that dad's reaction. He came flying from somewhere. It looked
Yeah.
like he was coming from the parking lot, is what it looked like.
Right down the
But
bleachers and just totally went after this 12-year-old boy, like, who's such a
exactly.
kid, which is wild that we
Instead of
go.
going to his kid and going, "Hey, are you okay? Like, are you?" They completely
Mhm.
bypassed this kid and went after this other, which is again, I recognize not every adult has that emotional intelligence and balance to be able to self regulate in the moment.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm perfect either. I can do better than that, though.
Yeah, I'm not perfect either. It's been a long week, and I feel like I've had moments where I'm like, "Oh, you could have done better than that." But,
Well, you're walking around
regulating.
with ants, so I don't know.
Dude, the ants killed me. I was after 10 minutes, I was like, "I don't think I can do this. I think we're gonna go home." 10 minutes later, it's like, "Yep, we're going home." You can't walk on the ground where there's ants. I'm gonna have to get you like a little hoverboard for the rest of your life because I don't know what to do. But no, you're right. I think that dad showed his kid react in anger. That dad showed his kid that if violence is the solution, and you can go after someone who
Exactly that.
and like
Exactly that.
you're making a
He
bad impression.
co-signed.
Yeah, you're co-signing bad behavior.
All right, so last couple of points, and then I'll let you go to yours. So the game footage shows players pausing and looking towards the sidelines instead of playing on the court. So the continued disruptions from the sidelines distracted them from actually playing the game.
Hmm.
Younger kids were visibly disengaged, with older players that began deferring plays to avoid mistakes. So no longer wanting to actually take the shot, they'd pass it to their friends because they don't want to get yelled from the sidelines. Other parents interviewed said they considered pulling their kids mid-season. I would have yanked my kids already because, I mean, what are you learning? And then league officials later added a zero tolerance sideline policy for adults, which is, again,
That makes sense.
I agree, but now that puts the onus on referees to have to toss parents out, right? And then I think that just causes more of a situation where parents that were already showing up had issues controlling themselves. Now you as a referee have to stop the game and eject a parent who I'm not going anywhere. My kids, So it's like, damn, let's just not play basketball in this city.
Yeah, yeah. We had man, growing up, we're a very, very competitive family, and we moved from Rhode Island to Utah, and we were lacrosse players. Um, But
Oh, that's
Rhode
legit.
Island
That's a good
lacrosse
sport.
was legit lacrosse. It was like they hadn't quite gotten to Utah. So when we got there, we felt like we were teaching everybody the rules, and it didn't last very long because I had a tiger dad who was my coach for soccer and snowboarding and so yeah, I think we lasted maybe a season before we kind of gave up and um it just yeah, there's I don't know. Uh, sports are complicated and
I get it. I get
yeah,
it.
got a little lost on that one, but lost
That's
on
all right. All right, what do you got?
all right, so my incident is a Zoom meeting that kind of went wrong. So in 2020, a virtual IEP program was meeting, and a parent forgot to mute her microphone and was referring to her own child as a little sociopath. Um, yeah, and somebody had clipped it because the meeting was being recorded and put it on social media. The content went viral, and it became a conversation that was not private between friends, but a moment where a mom really demeaned her child in public and exposed them to like this really. And if you don't know what an IEP is, it's an individual education program. So it's most likely this kid is struggling in school and needs extra help anyways, which is a tough thing to navigate as a parent and as a child who is required, who kind of needs one of those. So it was a really double edged sword. But what are your thoughts?
Okay, so first of all, I feel all kinds of bothered about this because IEPs are usually very like you're sitting across from someone or you're on a Zoom call, right? So it's supposed to be very specific individuals and it's supposed to be a very private moment too
Mhm.
to be able to provide insight. So on the school side, whoever took that video and shared it should be fired. They shouldn't be an educator anymore. Because A, that's a violation of privacy. Two, you've embarrassed that child in the long run, right? And three, you're supposed to be helping. Your parents are not perfect, and some of them aren't necessarily good parents in the moment. And as an educator, someone trying to help the kid, right, and an advocate of the child, you're supposed to be aware that you get all types, right? You get parents that show up, that come to the school that help. You get parents that come rant and rave, and then you get those that never show up. So I feel sad that that got out. Number two, I kind of almost feel like it's a relationship type situation. You never badmouth your child to someone
Yeah.
else, right? You are your child's guardian, protector, and first time champion. Yeah, your kid's learning. They're always going to have bad behaviors because they're learning, especially if the parent has bad behaviors. They're mimicking the parent. So the fact that that kid is that way isn't necessarily entirely the parent's fault, but the IEP is there to try to help them educationally put their best foot forward. This goes back to, I think, the conversation we had, or I had it with someone. A's are not the expectation. Do your best, and wherever you land, I'll be okay with, as long as you are actually doing your best. And if your best is a C in that class, I'm okay with that. We're gonna champion that. We're gonna dance about that. We're gonna be excited about that. But if you're getting a C and you can do an A, that's a different conversation.
100%.
So I think IEPs help to kind of set the expectation. How do we make sure these kids get what they need? Quiet time, extended time, additional accoutrements, if you will, to be able to be successful in an educational theater. And I think this is a big ball dropped on all sides. F across the board.
F across the board. I completely agree. I think that whoever posted the moment and allowed that clip to go viral during a formal school meeting, I think that it exposed a parent who may or may not have just been having a bad day, but it truly pushed that narrative on the child in the long run. And you're not helping a kid when you're telling, oh, my mom just off the cuff called me a sociopath. That's not a small word. That's a big insult. And then you have to reflect out on that too. Like, to call your child a sociopath.
But what if it's true? Then imagine if it's true. Your kid is like, I heard it. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. And you're like,
Well,
damn,
yeah,
this
and
kid
there's
really
two.
is a sociopath.
Well, there's two different things. A psychopath is someone who lacks all feelings, right? And but a sociopath
Right.
is someone who has too many, right? They're like not in control of all of these really intense feelings. But that's a nature build. That's not a nurture build. 99% of the time, if you're a sociopath or a sociopath or a psychopath, that's like kind of a born thing. So if you recognize that behavior, you shouldn't you should be dealing with it in a proper way instead of just being like calling your kid something to, negative and coming it off. And I do truly believe that the way we speak about our kids to our friends, the way we speak about our kids to our parents or our partners or our co-parents, um, really has an impact on how we see them and how we parent them in the long run, but also making sure that like your kids overhear you talking positively about them.
Mm.
Like, Bo was sick this week again, and so I had called her mom 8 in the morning. I was like, "Hey, she threw up all night, but you know what? She was so tough and so strong, and she made it to the bathroom every time, and she was just such a big kid about it. She was so tired, but I can see that those, and I was exhausted because I hadn't slept all night. But those small
What needs
things,
that? Like,
What do you need sleep for? It's
Well,
fine. I can get up every hour. It's fine. I can get up. I can clean my
your
whole.
dad, you superhero. Let's do it.
There's nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep going. But I do believe those moments matter because growing up in a household where honestly speaking kindly about yourself or about your siblings or your parents not speaking highly about you is something I understand heavily, and so I try to be incredibly cautious about those things. If my co-parents and I do have behavioral issues that we talk about, I almost always make sure the conversation, I was like, you know what, this conversation can happen not in front of Bo. We can talk about this outside of this because she doesn't need to hear these things. She's 5, she's having tantrums, it's a lot of work, but we can talk about this separately so that it's not impacting her self-worth, because at the end of the day, your voice, and I don't know who said this, but it's probably one of my favorite quotes, is that your voice as your child's parent isn't the voice, it becomes their narrator. The tone, the
Ooh.
love in it, the effects of it. It's not like, "Oh, well, you grew up and you heard my voice." No, no, no. Your voice becomes their narrator. It's how they talk to themselves, how they believe in themselves, how they were trained to, I think, in a lot of
Oh,
ways.
we're getting into some psychology here.
A
Okay.
little bit of psychology.
All right, we're ready for the next one.
Yes, sir.
Mm, 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 mm. All right. So in 2022, BBC News reported on an ongoing concern in England over parental over monitoring,
Mm,
tracking apps, constant texting, and unannounced school check ins. Cases included both younger children and preteens struggling with independence, with schools flagging the issue publicly. What do
interesting.
you think about, I guess, what we would consider helicopter parenting based on what I just said?
Oh, I mean, I think that's a really complicated question because I think that parenting has changed so much with access to the internet and social media that it that's tough. I've seen a couple of schools and counties where cell phones under the age of 16 is like no longer a thing, and the result is like kids with like significantly less anxiety, less self negative thoughts, less self harm. Like there's massive improvements in school grades, in social interactions outside of the internet. There's improvement in sports, overall happiness within the school. Like there's all of those things. So I feel like this monitoring is really maybe like a grasp on how to handle the newest generation with their attachment to technology.
Hmm. I think it's a learning curve for us too as parents.
Mhm,
Because with technology we can do so much more than we would have never thought to do as parents. Our parents would never have done this because it wasn't available to them,
mhm,
right? And it produced a whole different society. Now, I have heard about schools taking those additional steps to do, I don't know if you've been to some events now, movie not movie theaters, but like concerts and theaters, and not movie theaters, but like theater arts theaters, um will now put your phone in like a little thing, and it magnetizes so you can't open it. Like if you want to go in, you got to surrender your phone, put it in this bag, you can take it with you. And then you go into the event, no one has their cell phone out because you can't get to it. And then at the end, the same way you came in, you go through this little magnetized things, they unlock it, you get the pouch back, you have your phone. Cool, thank you for coming. What that does is it removes the proverbial, the person sitting in front of me has a big hat on
mhm,
kind of feeling. Like I can't see the concert because someone's phone is always in the air and I'm watching the phone watching the concert instead of watching the concert, right? It gives the present. I am present. And I think that is primarily what we are being robbed of
mhm,
with having cell phones, is being present. So I know I find myself in this circle as well. I try to be half present and then half whatever I'm trying to do for social media. I'll capture social media, and then when I feel like I have enough, boom, phone goes in the pocket. I'm present. And I'm trying to do that with my kid as well. Now, as far as the helicoptering and the over monitoring and the texting, I would like for my kid to be able to have some sort of boundaries. If I text you, you have 30 minutes to respond. Now, should you instantly respond? No, because we're not always instantly available to respond either, right? If my
Mhm.
kid texts me, I can't instantly respond because sometimes I'm on a conference call or I'm doing this. So 30 minutes, please respond. Am I showing up at your school because I haven't heard from you? Hell no. I should not hear from you while you're at school. You should be
Yeah.
at school. That's not a right. Please don't call me unless it's an emergency. So I feel it's a slight overreach.
Yeah, because so if I'm understanding properly, they're having issues with parents showing up at the school
This
unannounced.
is a parental
Yeah,
thing,
kid.
correct? These
Oh, okay.
parents are showing
Overboard.
up at school when they're not hearing from their kid. Like, first of all, they're texting their kid during school time and they're expecting a response. They don't hear. They show up at school to do check-ins. I don't
Yeah.
know what school system this in, but you can't get past the first
Over.
counter at school anyway because who cares that you're a parent? You're
Also,
not you're not going past the school.
do they not do attendance anymore? Like, are they kids not being like told that they're whether or not they're in class? Because it's like if you're
Again, this is a parent thing, right? So the kids aren't well, they're in school, they're taking attendance, whatnot. The school will reach out when a kid is flagged as absent.
Mhm.
Like I get emails in the middle of the day that says, "Oh, your kid was absent from this class," and then like 5 minutes later, it's like, "Oop, no, they're here." Right? Because someone
Um,
keyed it in wrong, or he was tardy to class by a minute or two and missed the attendance or whatever. But I'm never really concerned about that
mhm.
because I'm aware of what's happening. Now, the additional detail here is one school reported students asking permissions via text for routine decisions during class time. So they're reaching out to their parents during class time, right? Younger children showed distress when unable to immediately reach a parent. So again, going back to what you were saying, now you're causing that level of stress based on this device that gives you that instant connection that you probably shouldn't have. You should have more independence, right?
Yeah, that sounds like some like anxious attachment issues that are
Yes.
going to be long term. Because like, yeah,
Yes.
you should be able to, as a second or third grader, pick what color backpack you want without your parent being involved in that question or
Right.
whatever.
You're like sending
Order.
pictures. Should I get this one? Should I get that one? Should I get this? Like,
Yeah, like you should be able to. And I think that some parents, I saw something recently where a 16-year-old girl wanted to pick out her haircut. And her mom's was like, "No, you're not picking out your haircut." She's like, "I get that you don't want me to dye it, but I want to pick out like the style." She's like, "You're not old enough for your opinion to matter."
ooh.
Like at 16, aren't I feel like you're old enough for your opinion to matter on your appearance to the extent of a haircut. We're not doing anything crazy long lasting, but a haircut is and your opinion matters anyways. I think
I
you know,
bet you anything that parent was trying to be sassy with their retort with their teenager, not realizing that what they just said probably rang a lot louder than they intended it to.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Impact of words over intention is definitely something we have to be aware of.
Oh man, because they hang on to the things that you don't want them to, and then don't hang on to the stuff anyway.
Yeah.
The last 2 points here. Um, Preteens reported fear of making wrong choices without approval. So again, this siphons from the independence bucket. You're trying to raise someone who's going to be independent once they leave school, but you're cutting them off at the pass, right? So when they do graduate or move into high school or whatnot, they're not as independent, and now you're upset about it. Like you created this monster. And then the last one, educators described a shift from guidance to dependency, which
Yeah.
again is back to what you were saying. Spot
Yeah.
on.
It is dependency. We've been practicing independent play and pushing her to be more independent because I think first kid, going through all the big changes that we went through, I have a habit of being a little bit more of a helicopter parent. And so I'm trying to push her to do things that she can do by herself. And there's a learning curve with that. There is frustration, there's shutdown, there's all of these big, I can't do it. And, we had a conversation of like, whether you can do it and whether you don't want to do it are two different things. And I
Exactly.
think adding this like constant connection to our parents is giving us this out of, I don't want to do it. So I'm just going to say that I can't do it. And by them responding to me and helping me make this decision, it's almost backing that I can't do it mentality that this kid is having. I can't do it if my parents hasn't helped me to do this. I can't do this if I haven't been told how to do this. And it takes sometimes, a little bit of a meltdown and a stricter hand to be like, you can do it. And we're just gonna wait until you do it by yourself to make this happen. Like I'm just
And it
gonna
may take a while too.
yeah. Like it's gonna take it might sometimes it'll take a while. Sometimes it'll take a couple of days for you to really realize that you've got this in the bag, but there's sense of pride when they figured out they can do it by themselves. I think that we are robbing from our kids by being so involved all the time.
Well, you can't tell them you can do anything you put your mind to and then help them at every turn,
Yeah.
right? So we have to be very aware of not trying to confuse what we're trying to teach them. Hey, I showed you how to do this once. You can do it from now on. Like you can't come to me 3, 4, 5 times going, I don't know how to. Yeah, you do. I showed you how to do it. Maybe I showed you twice. So now it's your turn to do it. Now I think when they get older, my kid's 12. So as they get older and they come across new situations that I have not taught them to solve, I now give them enough space. Go solve it. And if it takes, longer than I think, then maybe I'll get involved. I'll give you one piece of the puzzle, or I'll
Mm,
give you two pieces of the puzzle. Now you have a leg up. Now go solve it. But the more you solve it for them, it decreases creativity, problem solving, the anxiety that you face when you are in a situation that you think you can't solve, but you need to calm down enough to be able to solve it. Right? You're not scared of looking over your shoulder or making a mistake, kind of like these kids with these phones. You're trying to do something, but you're worried about what the results are because you didn't say, why didn't you send me a picture of this first?
yeah.
That's not the green we were talking about. It's like, does that really matter? It's like, anyway, I think parents are doing a fantastic job. There are those that are still learning. They're still on a learning journey.
We're all still learning. Definitely felt that this week. Yeah.
Humble enough. I appreciate that.
Yeah. 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 There was a couple of moments where I was like, you know what? I'm still figuring it out.
All right.
Still figuring it out.
What you got?
So my second story, kind of is similar along the lines of my first story. It goes back to just negative talk and allowing negative talk. So in May of 2023, a Gainesville high school history teacher allegedly allowed a student to label a classmate a Neziphile, which
Oh,
I
what?
believe.
Already that sounds horrible. Whatever that is.
Yeah, so it's a person who believes in Nazism. So it was a very intense label to give a high school student, and it was because of his interest in World War II and his participation in ROTC. And she personally nominated the student to become most likely to become a dictator. And the class had a vote on it and tried to force him in front of the class to refuse to receive the certificate of most likely to become a dictator, which he then refused. But the classmates and this teacher kind of all came together and labeled a student a Nazi supporter and most likely to become a dictator in a time where those are really big accusations and real problems in the US. So it's like, I don't know. This is a tough one because the parents, I mean, there was no investigation. There was not a lot of like the
So, okay, wait. So this story is wild.
is right.
First of all, I just learned a new word because normally you just walk around and call somebody a Nazi, not Naziophile. I think anything that ends in a file is kind of scary because you just never know where that's going to end up.
Hmm.
um, Going back to my first story, this is one of those moments where I would show up at the school and cause a fit if someone did that. That seems very elaborate, like very intentionally either absent-minded, unaware, either like oh, it has to be on purpose. Like what educator would do that and not realize what they're doing?
Well, and yeah, like I guess she said that there was no intentional harm, and it was just like the story was being misleading, and it's like, but you literally printed out a certificate for a kid in your class saying, most likely to become a dictator, which isn't a positive thing.
No, it is not.
And especially with someone who is very interested in World War II, who, participates in ROTC. This person might have a very one-track mind, but you're labeling them with such a big negative thing. I feel like you're diminishing their, I don't know, freedom of curiosity. Not saying that you should be curious and investigate Nazism, but that was a massive part in World War II. And maybe he wanted to understand it so it's not repeated, but you're immediately putting it the other direction.
I mean, we've got Gaddafi from wherever he's from in the Middle East. We've got Saddam Hussein. We got Hugo Chavez. We've got the recent guy from Venezuela that got out or pulled out of his room
Yeah.
by Trump. We've got Trump,
Putin.
Kim Jong Il. We've
Mhm.
got Putin. Um, I mean, we've got all these people that show up in our news today over the last 10 years. They're all qualified dictators, if you will. They all end in a very specific way. So to crown someone and say, this is your future, there's no misunderstanding there.
No, you're labeling this person as a bad human being who's capable of bad
Oh,
things. And for a young, I mean, I'm guessing a young boy, yeah, his interests, yeah, I'm guessing. So like for a young boy who's still figuring out his place in this world, to have a teacher and then an entire class
class.
of your peers say, "Yeah, we see something evil in you." What do you think that's going to bring out in them? Defensiveness? Maybe they'll double down and go that direction because if people already think it, maybe it's true. Maybe I should figure out if this is what I want to do. Do I want to be a dictator? Do I want to obsess about the next? Because like these people who I thought were my friends just said like, "Yeah, you're just a terrible person." I definitely see where the teacher's coming from. Um, Now a bunch of students walked out with the teacher was placed on administrative leave, but some of the students walked out with her and not in support of this kid. So they, I guess,
What?
yeah,
What is this, some brainwashing operation? What is happening?
it was a very like controversial thing. Yeah, because
I'm
some
going to have to go look this up. This is ridiculous.
it was wild. It was I couldn't believe when I found this one. I was like, no way, no way to like yeah. I don't know.
Okay,
Have you had
I
a
am a
teacher who
little
just automatically
I
didn't like you?
say that again. Did I have a teacher that did not like me?
Yeah. You ever have that?
So I don't know whether they didn't like me or not. I think some teachers were either unimpressed or thought that I would be part of my perception is they thought that I would be part of the problem and not part of the solution. I was a very soft spoken kid in middle school and in
Mhm.
high school. I was very like focused in what I was trying to do. I didn't make a lot of friends in high school, middle school. I had my own issues. I went through bullying and all sorts of stuff. So I think that engaging with teachers on any kind of level was often problematic for me just because I didn't want to be seen as the teacher's pet and stuff like that. So that just enhances your situation, right? So I think
Yeah.
a lot of teachers read into that wrong and were like, this kid is, he might be a problem. So let me address him as such, even though I was never really a problem. My parents never had to come to the school for anything. I was never in trouble. I made decent grades, but I think adults are adults, whether they're educators or not. And when you're dealing with a lot of kids as an educator, you sometimes make quick decisions that come back to bite you. there are teachers that do very well, and they are like, okay, we need to give them time for me to decide who these individuals are going to be. But this situation is ridiculous because no kid should be labeled as a tyrant or a despot, if you will, or someone who has tendencies, characteristics that could be detrimental on a global stage. It's like, wow, like not even in this little town. This is like you're calling me a global threat right now.
Right now, a global threat, and like the worst kind. You're comparing me to Hitler in a lot of ways as a child.
Well, that's the subject matter they're talking about. So
Yeah.
thank you for the certificate that says you are now, baby Hitler. Thank you. That everybody is talking about. If you could go back and kill one person, from it's going to be Hitler. It's what most people say. So
Which
now
is
I'm in that category. Thanks, appreciate it.
yeah, thanks. And it puts such a you know, high school is hard enough. Now, not only do you have you're as an adult labeling this child, but you're encouraging his classmates to do the same.
That's the part,
That
right?
that is the part that really screws with me because like if you're gonna
Yes.
really like you're going out of your way to point out the differences of this one kid, and then you're encouraging the other kids to to confirm your bias around
So
this
now your ability to have someone stand up for you in the classroom was the teacher, but the teacher is now
the
the
bully.
one instigating. Exactly. The
Yeah.
teacher is the bully, and they are encouraging anyone else that may be a bully to do the same thing. I would be curious the thought process of these kids as to why they decided to align themselves with the teacher. If it's more like the teacher is very nice to me and I'm standing up for the teacher, or if it's like I really believe this kid is a Nazi. So I mean,
I mean, even
this is so strange. I don't.
because even if you come from it from like that, like devil's advocate of like maybe this kid really did is really struggling and like has all of these things there to demean him or to publicly shame him and make it a thing isn't going to help him think about his thoughts differently. It's going to confirm his biases.
Yeah, he's either gonna go introvert, right? He's gonna go into his shell
Mm-hmm.
and explode 10 years from now,
Yep.
right? Because
So
you're
many
you're because
young
maybe you're confirming things he feels about himself that he would have worked out in therapy had you not put him
the
on a
spot.
stage like this.
Or helped him through these feelings. I mean, high schools have counselors, um, they have connections. They're supposed to have connections to flag certain behaviors and belief systems to help students grow into a different mindset if it really is where he was going. Like if you
Well, first of
really
all, did you just identify a school shooter?
would you promote because like
When
I
he comes back and tries to shoot your school up, is he coming for you and the kids in your classroom?
most likely you're creating a problem.
Like, are you unaware that this is a prevalent issue for the last 10 years, and you should be very careful what you say to kids?
20 years. 20 years. Columbine was 1995 or 6.
Oh my god. This
Mhm.
is okay. Now I feel old. But for those of you listening to this podcast, I'd be curious what you guys have to say about this because I am like I'm still kind of shell shocked at this story. It's just it does not make sense to me.
No. Nope. It doesn't make any sense, and the fact that the two different sides of, like, the kids taking her side and saying she was this very caring and supportive teacher, but then this one kid gets, like, ostracized and labeled as such a negative thing. It's I mean, and the teacher was put on administrative leave, like, that and that's what should have happened.
No, she should have been fired. Administrative
For
leave my ass. She should have been fired.
yeah.
Because even in politics when you compare someone to being a Nazi, that's like the worst thing you can do. You put yourself on blast, right? So it's like that is such a strong connotation given what happened to the Jews during that time. It's just such a anyway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awful. Awful, awful, awful.
All right, August, take us out with our positive vibes now that we've brought the room down.
Okay, so normally in the last couple episodes, I've come at you with an Instagram page that I really like to follow, but today, because my
We should
theme
have
was
a
all
little jingle, right? Positive vibes.
positive
I'm
vibes,
gonna think about that. I'm gonna find something.
But today, I've been in the last couple of weeks, I've been working on my own what are they called? Affirmations and things like that to kind of get me
Oh.
through different things. And when I was seeing
So
all of
so okay, so now that you brought that up, why do you do that? For those that are watching. Well, what's the genesis of your positive affirmations?
I think creating more self-love. I think that
Okay.
yeah, I think that's not something that I was born into or have really invested a lot of time into, but as I um try to be a very intentional parent, I realized that there are things that I could be intentional with myself too. So for example, I've been doing this workout program, and sometimes when I don't want to do it, um, I think about all of the things that I do for other people, and this is a hard thing that I get to do for myself. And so it's just like, this is for you. You're doing this for you. You're doing hard things for yourself. Or if I'm feeling like very uh, judgmental in the moment of my appearance or anything like that. Like because I've been sweating a lot more, I tend to have more acne when I sweat more. I was looking and I was judging and I was like, oh man, you got a breakout in your 30s, you got acne. What are you doing? I was like, you know what? No, you have acne because you're sweating, and you're sweating because you're working hard, and you're working hard because you want to see a change and you want to give yourself a better life, and it just spirals, it spirals, and those affirmations become the points behind what you're doing. And yeah, I think I struggle with those things, and have to do little things to remind myself that you know you get to put time into yourself too, and make those hard steps forward for yourself, and sometimes a little affirmation helps.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Viola Davis has one where she's looking at you, and I think it was on female values. That's what it was. So at female values, and she talks about just looking in the camera and or looking into the mirror and just saying, "I am worth it." That's it. I am worth it. So when you think about, dedicating 10 minutes to meditation, you could be like, oh, I could do 10 minutes of dishes, but I'm worth it for these 10 minutes to connect my body to myself. Or if you're applying for a job that you don't think that you could get, you might as well apply anyways because you're worth it, and just stepping forward in a different direction. I do, yeah, I do think that self-talk is something that I really struggle with, and something that I'm kind of trying to reframe as I get older and grow into. And so the these two stories really hit home in a different way. And so I was like, okay, these are moments that I'm working on, that I thought we could kind of end with. Just like pick an affirmation for the week, and think more positively about something you're struggling with.
Ooh, so maybe we should have a couple of posts on our Instagram that helps with the affirmation. And I'd be curious if others are doing the same thing. I know there's a lot of wellness apps out there.
Mhm.
Apple's big on it, and journaling and stuff like that. So I think that is moving away from being a fad and being an actual thing that people are applying for themselves introspectively, without it being a thing that's on Instagram like they're doing it for clout. I think they're really just doing it for themselves now, which is good.
Yeah, and I do think it works. I mean, when I got into this self-talk, positive self-talk kind of rabbit hole on Instagram, it's like you see Cristiano Ronaldo talking to himself before a game. It's like, I'm the best. I got this. I can do anything. I'm the best. And you just see him talking it over. There's an Olympic jumper, and she was doing the same thing. She said, run the track, jump. You got this. You're gonna break the record. Run the track, jump. You got this. There's a football player who was mic'd up, who's just saying, I am strong, I am quick, I'm fast, I'm smart. All of these little things. And I think one of the things that spiraled is there are parents out there who have these daily affirmations they tell to their kids of like, what is a leader? And they go through this and like, what are you? And just kind of enforce it, not enforcing, but reminding this like really powerful mental mantra to like leave yourself and your kids with every day is like, I am worth it. The time that I put in myself is time well spent. I am great. I am smart. I am kind. I am beautiful. Whatever you need to say in the day to get you through it, I think is, we just got to remind ourselves these things sometimes.
No, it's like that mantra from the movie The Help. I am kind. I
Hank,
can't
I
remember the rest
am
of them. I'm gonna find
smart.
it and post it up here.
Yeah, I am
But it's always good to
beautiful.
have that opportunity. But listen, August, we have reached the end of our podcast. I think this was quite the episode. It certainly got me triggered a couple of times, but I think this is particularly the point, right? We need to be able to examine things that have happened outside of us and say, what would we do? I think those conversations we don't have with ourselves often enough, and we don't have the opportunity to mentally prepare for when and if that happens. It may never happen, but if you never have a conversation about it, you kind of don't know how you would react or be able to say, this is how I'm going to react. But hey, I talked about this, so maybe I should do something different or hold myself back from just that knee jerk reaction. Hopefully, some of these conversations are helping people just go,
Maybe.
I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes we just gotta take a break, figure it out.
All right, August. Until next episode.
Thank you, Jamil.
Hope your hair is gonna be down to your shoulder on next episode.
Yes, by the next time we record, my hair is gonna be like 4 inches longer. It'd be great.